We are live.
What's going on? What's going on?
Uh-oh.
Wednesday.
We got the double. We are live.
Where's that coming from?
From the YouTube channel. They got the delay. I had it open.
Oh, okay. He's in the Matrix.
Oh, yeah, for real. Here we go, brother. Good evening. How's everything, man?
I'm good, man. Good. You? Wednesday, November 17th. I wish it was March already.
March.
Yeah, man.
I wish it was. I'm still hazy.
Yeah,
I didn't get enough. Yeah, I didn't get enough sleep, man.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things, but it's all good. Salute to the brother Anthony Montenegro. We see you. The regular schmegler.
Oh, what's up, bro?
Yeah, the regular schmegler, Miss Angelica Reyes. We see you. Yo, let me ask you a question. How did he get the name Egg Roll?
Oh, I don't know. As far as I know him, I know it's Egg Roll. Yeah, he'll tell it, I'm sure.
All right. Man, excited tonight because we have somebody again from our part of town, from Brooklyn. And not only that, but a lot of history there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of history.
A lot.
And a lot of people were definitely like jamming up the post, like, yo, big coach, blah, blah, all hyped up about it. But looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, man, I have my story with him senior year, so I'll tell that later though. But I'll wait till you know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as you can see in the ticker, tonight we have Mr. Wayne Slater Sr. I mean, there's so much to say about this gentleman. If you didn't read the post, I couldn't encompass everything just in a short intro. So strap in because there's a lot of history here, and it's going to be a good show. So I hope everybody's home, comfortable, and ready for some good convo. Salute to Michael Mai, Ms. Zenobi McCardle, my two sonfus, Asa and Josiah, Laura and Leslie. We see you. The brother James Morales.
Jimmy. Beef steak.
Yeah, man. The room's getting flooded, man.
Let's go.
The room is getting flooded. Everybody's in the building. So hey, you know what?
Gotta get that meme going, like the Rick James with the Chappelle, right? Everybody goes
with the aura.
Yeah, with the aura. Oh.
All right. Man, so next week, everybody who's watching, at the end of the month, we do our Chop It Up segment. So next week, we're going to have a special co-host hosting our Chop It Up. So make sure you're here. There's so much to talk about. A lot of things going on in the country, around the world, so on and so forth. So it should be a good one. We're looking to lock in somebody very special for next week. So make sure you tune in. And salute to everybody in the room, man. Sure. Ashley Jackson. Huh? Say again?
I said for sure.
Oh, yeah. Ashley Jackson and Matthew Arroyo. We see y'all.
Matthew Arroyo.
Good evening to everybody. So, Sel, I guess we're going to, no time like the present. I think we're going to run this track.
Go ahead, run the track.
You ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mr. A.
Sally Sassong in the building.
And this is the set 6145. Tonight, we welcome a piece of history from our part of town, Brooklyn, New York, Mr. Wayne Slater Sr., a.k.a. Coach. Man. So, Sel, as I understand it, this gentleman, he's a respected guy. People in the sports world really take him serious, and he's mentored a lot of young men, right? Even his own son.
For sure.
Did his son play pro ball?
Son was drafted, played minor league ball. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of people from Brooklyn
out of part of the We Stay Dirty family for life. So
okay.
Yeah.
Salute to WSD.
You know it.
a lot of people were really hitting up the post, man, and they were really excited. So I'm hoping everybody is ready and strapped in because we're gonna start the show. Without further,
hold on,
yeah, please.
Monday we had a funeral today. We lost a brother that played with me in Fort Hamilton High School. Sunset Park legend. We got to give him his due. We lost our brother Julio Lugo. He would have turned 46 yesterday. So, we're dealing with that tough times. Just want to pay our respects and give a RIP to my brother Julio Lugo.
It's crazy because we've all, in some way, shape, or form, or at a certain point of time, have crossed paths. And I'm sure I've been around this brother. But to hear somebody so young that touched so many people, the friendships, the camaraderie on the field, it's just sad, man. And so young, 45.
Yeah.
He was reaching the midpoint in his life.
Yeah. I had spoke to him about October, and he was talking. He hit me up like, "Hey, Sully, what's going on? See you doing your thing, whatever." And I was like, what's good with you? You into politics now? He's like, nah, no politico, no politico. And we were talking about the birthday was my son's birthday at the time, and then I was talking about next, November being my other son's birthday. He was like, mine too, 16th, and it was the same day. Wow. So yeah, it was tough because I had a voice note. I tried to go to it yesterday because I just want to hear it, but it was an unexpected loss for all of us. And he was a guy that the money didn't change him. He treated everybody the same. When we went to the game, if he would see you, if he knew you were there, come down, or meet me after and introduce you to the ball players on the team.
Wow.
He just never wavered. So again, we lost a good one there.
Yeah. Condolences to the whole Lugo family, and everybody who was his friend. This should really give you some semblance of understanding of how fragile and how short life can be, and how important it is to stop refraining from speaking how you feel about somebody, even if you feel like they full of shit. You know what I'm saying? But if you love somebody, you should always leave them with that feeling, right? Because you never know. Life
and part
happens.
of giving the flowers, we were getting Rudy on. I don't remember, and I got sick with the COVID and February, March. We had to reschedule, and kind of like, damn, that we never kind of rescheduled, and Rudy was gonna try to get Julio on, so it was just like a lot of stuff going through my mind the last few days about that. But it goes to of us giving flowers while they're here, which segues into what we're doing tonight, because this gentleman has been around for so many years and has helped so many guys through life. Forget about just baseball.
For sure. Yeah, even Blink was supposed to come on. We were doing the Super Bowl episode, giving Doomsday flowers, and it's quick like that, man. Sometimes it just, but we definitely want to keep that move going. As everybody can hear, Sully has been very adamant about doing so, and it's the right thing to do, to celebrate people that we love and respect most of all, and give them their flowers while they're here. So we could look back on this, as a body of work. So without further ado, man, let's bring the man in. Ladies and gentlemen, from Brooklyn, Mr. Coach Wayne Slater Sr.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Mr. Slater, good evening.
Good evening, fellas.
What's going on, Coach?
Oh, how you doing, Sully?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
So glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, for sure. We're glad you could be here tonight. Maybe you could help Sully stop punching his microphone because he's getting a little.
We gotta have a ticker, like a timer. How many times do I hit this mic?
Yeah.
So, Coach, there's many people in the room showing you love, giving you salutes, and just it's an overwhelming group of people that are in here, man. I can't even tell you. It's like, it's crazy. A lot of people have come out tonight to give you your flowers, to give you your due. Sure. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of
Can I
course.
first start off by saying, Sally, I agree with you wholeheartedly about Julio.
Mm.
I had a personal relationship with Julio. Julio called me from spring training. I'm talking about Julio Lugo for those who are looking in. And his concern was he wanted Rudy to come to FDR.
Mm.
I wasn't able to make that happen. He wound up going to Severian, but Rudy still used to come to FDR for different entertainment things that would happen
Yeah.
at school anyway, just to hang
Sure.
out with me. So I
Wow.
just want to offer my condolences, my prayers, and my sympathy from my family to Rudy Lugo and his family on behalf of Julio Lugo, who was a great player.
Mm.
Appreciate
And
it.
he represented Brooklyn very well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Fort Hamilton.
Coach, you know, to be at this point in your life and to have seen so much and have done so much, does it ever give you pause now, especially at this point, and make you reflect on how many people you may have affected who are probably grown adults now who never forget you?
Oh, man. My life has been a succession of blessings. And my relationships with my students and my players and just people that I know from the communities that I've served in, it makes life all worthwhile. You know, Jackie Robinson once said that a life has no value except in the impact that it has on others' lives. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that we're here to serve. I believe that we're here to be of assistance to our fellow man. So I've always been blessed by the love being poured back on me. So I believe that you get what you put out there. So I'm very happy and very grateful and very thankful and humbled by the love that I receive every day.
So, Coach,
Yes.
why don't you tell us in the audience, where does the journey for baseball and the love of baseball, where does that start for you? Is that as a child immediately, or?
Yes, it started with my mother and my father and my sisters and my brothers. My older sister, I had 4 sisters and 4 brothers. I only have 1 brother and 1 sister living now. But my older sister, who's now the matriarch in the family, she tells me about the times when my mother used to get on the Flatbush Avenue bus while she was pregnant to take me to Ebbets Field to go to the Dodgers games. And then when we moved to Brooklyn, to the Bronx, 166th Street and 3rd Avenue, my father used to pack up the whole family. You know, there was 10 of us. And between the brothers and the sisters and the boyfriends and the girlfriends, we always had enough people to play a complete game. My dad had gloves for everybody. You know, I remember playing out at Pelham Bay Park with my family and seeing my first organized Pony League team playing on the field next to us and going there and just looking and dreaming of one day being able to play organized ball.
Wow.
But what happened was my mother and father were very spiritual. They were Seventh-day Adventists. And you weren't allowed to play any type of sport on Saturday, similar to what Sandy Koufax went through in the World Series back in the day. But my father passed when I was 11, and it opened up the door for me to kind of like convince my mother to let me play in the Little League. And so she kept saying, no, if you play, you're going to stop going to church. So I promised to listen, Ma, as soon as the season is over, I promise you I'll go back to church. I said, but God wouldn't have given me this ability if he didn't want me to use it. Even as 11-year-old, I had common sense. So
you had that swag.
Thought about it, and it was a hard sell. But she finally gave in, and she let me play Little League ball. That's where I met my brother Ray Haskins, the legendary Ray Haskins. He coached LIU in basketball. He coached Alexander Hamilton back in the day, won a city championship with players like Ice Reynolds and the Beetle and Coach Sell. And we became great friends.
Coach,
So,
let me ask you something real quick,
yes.
Coach. You said you were playing in Pelham Bay. Was that a heavy Italian area at the time, or was that minority?
Not back in those days. You know, we're talking about. You know, I was like I said, I was like 9, 10 years old at that time. So it was heavy Spanish and black. It was people of color, basically. Okay. And it was Pelham Bay Park. So my father took us all for a picnic there. So that's those are the memories that I have of playing with my entire family. My sisters used to have gloves and they used to play, man, and listen and get mad about their turn to hit. Don't try to pinch hit for me. So it was a family thing, and you know we just loved and grew up. You know, all my sisters watched the games on TV, all my brothers, and you know, our family had a great love for baseball.
Coach, I noticed, you know, that you said you lost your dad very young, and
Yes.
being in a big family, did that start to bring out your competitiveness? Like, did you find yourself as a young boy, because, you know, 9, 10, 11 years old, you're still a child. So did that sort of spark motivation in you to say, hey, you know what? I have to have, you know, more awareness and be more motivated now because my dad is not around.
Exactly. And what happened, to take it even further, Mr. A, I even thought back then that I needed to have a scholarship because my mother had 9 children. And she couldn't afford to send me to college. If I didn't figure out a way to get a scholarship to go to college, I never would have been able to go to college. So it motivated me in that way because my father only went to the 8th grade, but he was the smartest man that I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that because he was my father. I'm saying it because he never went to the auto mechanic. He fixed the car himself. He's the one that built the staircase in our home because he was a carpenter and had the tools in the basement. He would fish and hunt. I only miss the idea of growing up with him because I didn't learn these things because he passed before he had a chance to fully pass that on to me. But what he did pass on to me was my love for my spiritual life, my love for my family, and my love for my fellow man. I got that from my dad, and I got hard work from my dad. My dad sent my mother from North Carolina to Brooklyn, New York on the trailways while he hitchhiked because he didn't have enough money. He put the money on my mother's trip and he made it up here on his own. 8th grade education, smartest man I ever met.
And family first.
Yes.
So, Coach, you end up going away to college. Where'd you end up going?
Well, I originally went to Texas Western. I don't know if you're familiar with Texas Western, but if you've seen that movie, Glory Road, that's the school that I went to. And those are my buddies. Although I went there on a track scholarship.
Okay.
Well, if you remember, Texas Western was the first team to start an all-black starting 5. The first team ever to do that. And they played against Kentucky with Adolph Rupp, who that gym in Kentucky is
Kentucky.
named after. And they had Louis Dampier and Pat Riley on that team.
Yeah, that's right. Pat Riley was on that team.
Yes, sir. Pat Riley's the one that said that was the greatest upset in the history of sports. Pat Riley said that.
Oh, I think you're gonna say Pat Riley said we need some brothers over here.
No, well, I'm glad you said that, Sully, because at the time, Adolph Rupp had made the statement that as long as he was alive, that no black player would play at Kentucky. Now you look at Kentucky now.
We need to cancel that arena. They want to cancel. They need to cancel that arena.
Coach, I wanna sort of explore that time for you, because I think it's very important for the audience to understand life in that moment, because the environment we live in now is very, very different. But somebody like yourself who has real world experience of that time, I would like for you to sort of convey to the audience how was the environment that you were living in? Like, how was your everyday life then as opposed to now? Because it sounds like it's two parallel universes.
Well, it was a blessing and a curse, because we still had the outrageous prejudices. When I was at Texas Western with Bobby Joe Hill, Willie Cager, Neville Shedd, Willie Worsley, these guys from New York City that won the national championship. We faced racial prejudice like crazy. I heard you talking, Sally, about El Paso. Well, that's where Texas Western is in El Paso. And it went from Texas Western to the University of Texas at El Paso while I was there. It changed. As a matter of fact, I got so many stories, Mr. A. I was one of the people that helped to recruit Nate Tiny Archibald to Texas El Paso. Wow. Him and Mike Schweitzer from DeWitt Clinton. They came on their visit. They were in Arizona Western Junior College. And they came for their visit to Texas El Paso. And of course, they came looking for the guys from the brothers from New York City to play ball with them.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We went to a gym. They weren't allowed to use the school gym, so we went to the YMCA. And of course, all I did was rebound and pass the ball to Tiny Archibald and let him do his thing. But I wound up leaving Texas Western, Texas University, Texas at El Paso, and going to Texas Southern. While I was at Texas Western, one of my teammates was the legendary Bob Beamon. He was a long jumper who still holds the record for the long jump in the 1968 Olympics. Bob Beamon.
Do you have aspirations of Olympics, Coach? Did you have aspirations?
Oh yeah, I went to college on a track scholarship. I won the 220-yard dash at the city championships in New York City in 1966. I ran in the finals as a junior in 1965, but the whole entire heat tripped on the turn and we all fell. And so I had to wait another year, my senior year, to really do it. But we also had the national record, the national championship for the mile relay as a junior at Madison Square Garden, where we ran against teams like Cambridge Latin that Patrick Ewing went to in Boston. We wound up beating them and everybody else to win the national championship. So my first love was always baseball. But the way that I got involved in the track was a happenstance. I went to Wingate in the 9th grade. I went to class one day and I saw a guy with a varsity sweat on. Back in those days, they used to give you cardigans, and if you got when you got your major letter, you put it on your cardigan.
Do the culture.
This guy's sweater, he had the swords on the sweater. I said, what's up with that? What is that? He said, I'm a fencer. I said, well, listen, how can I get me a sweater like that? I was 14 years old. I said, well, how can I get a sweater like that? He said, what you got to do is you got to be on a team for at least 1 year, and then they'll give you a letter, and then you can get a sweater. So I'm looking around. I'm saying, well, listen, baseball doesn't start until March, man. We're talking about September. I said, what can I do? I said, I can't play basketball. I ain't good enough to play with these guys. That was back in the day when Kareem came and played at our school. Like I said, Tiny was out there. We had great players playing. Eldridge Webb from Boys High.
Mecca, real Mecca.
So my thing was, listen, what can I do? I said, well, what I can do is I can run track. I said, all I got to do is be able to take the workouts. They don't ever cut anybody. As long as you don't quit, they keep you. The first meet that I went to, which was the Bishop Loughlin games at the 168th Street Armory, I won a medal.
Wow.
And I was good. Right away, I had that instant gratification.
Right.
My problem was in New York City, you can't compete in two sports at the same time. So track and field goes from cross country to indoor to outdoor, which is at Randall's Island. Indoors, 168th Street Armory. Cross country is Van Cortlandt Park, Prospect Park, all those outdoor venues. So I wound up, I would run track at school, and then I would play in the summertime.
Coach, did you get?
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Did you get your sweater?
Man, listen, listen.
What happened was,
listen.
Listen,
I didn't get the regular varsity letter. I got the city championship letter, and I got the national championship.
Excuse us.
So, but while I was playing ball at parade grounds, well, first of all, I started out in the Little League at Lincoln Terrace. I played with guys like Ray Haskins, who I told you about, with legendary coach from LIU, who wound up being a principal and everything. And I played with another guy named Marvin Roberts. He was on this is my Little League team. He played with the Kentucky Colonels. He won the NBA championship with them, and then he went to the Lakers after that. And he finished out his career with the Lakers, Marvin Roberts. And so Ray Haskins was on that. Then we had another guy, Dr. Clinton Brown, who's who's a legendary doctor downstate right now. That team was loaded. But what happened was after we turned 14, the Pony League age, there was nothing else for us to do. The league was over. We didn't even know about parade grounds. We were community guys. We didn't really know nothing of what was happening out there. But there was a gentleman, an elderly man, who was one of the people who I follow after because he did this for me. He used to come around and pick us up in the neighborhood in his old raggedy, rickety station wagon, fill it up to the brim with all the kids, and he took us out to parade grounds. We were so poor that for the first 3 or 4 months, we played in street clothes. We didn't have uniforms.
What?
But this man took us out there. And I wound up winning the most valuable player trophy in parade grounds, although our team didn't win one game.
Wow.
But he gave us the experience. And what happened was the other coaches saw me play and they jumped on me. For the Kiwanis, I played for Raleigh Post in the American Legion, and then then Ty Cobbs came and got me to play in the Nationals.
Wow.
So we had a guy named Danny Sharippa that got drafted. But as a 14-year-old, I got a letter from the Milwaukee Braves asking me to come down for tryout at Parade Grounds. That's when I asked my best friend, Dr. Clinton Brown, that I was telling you about, if he would go with me. Nobody knew, and he was gracious enough to come with me because I went out there by myself. I was only 14.
Right.
But I was so, I was so proud. I wasn't afraid. I always thought that I was going to be a pro. I always believed that I was going to be a pro. So I wasn't afraid. But so I went out there when I was 14. And that's really how everything got started from there.
Coach, speaking of being a pro, you went to University of, you said Texas Western, right? That turned to El Paso. Now, did you cross to Mexico like I did in Juarez?
I used to stay in Juarez. It blew my mind when you told that story about Juarez, because every time most people, because I've had a lot of Mexican students. Right. And whenever I talk about Juarez, even a lot of them don't know about Juarez. They know about Pueblo, but they don't know about Juarez. Man, listen, I used to cross over into Juarez for 1 penny, and it cost you 2 pennies to come back into the United States.
Yeah, man.
We'll let you get in, but to get out is going to be a little difficult.
It's going to be a little bit more. But I love Juarez. I love Mexico. I love the Mexican people. I love the Spanish people. They were a lot of them were more hospitable than some of the people, that lived in El Paso. Don't get me wrong. I love El Paso also. So, as a matter of fact, my wife and I, they invited us there for the 100th anniversary. So we went back for the 100th anniversary. That's where I got the ring. But it was there was a brother named Jose Laficiel. He ran for George Washington, and he represented the Dominican Republic in the 68 Olympics also with Bob Beamon. So I had some great friends.
So you ended up playing college baseball also, Coach? Did you also play college baseball?
What I did was I transferred to Texas Southern, and I had to miss a year because in those times they didn't have a portal. So if you transfer from one college to the other, you had to sit out a year.
Right.
So I had to work. I worked in the summertime here because I had a wife and a child, and so I worked as an orderly. But I went to Texas Southern. Now, Texas Southern had the world's fastest human, Jim Hines.
Who's that?
Jim Hines. He won the 1968 Olympics, the same Olympics with my brother John Carlos. John Carlos is from Manhattan, and I don't know if you guys know about John Carlos, but John Carlos.
Coach. No. I know exactly. Were you guys friends? Were you friends with classmates or?
I text him every day.
Are you kidding me?
John Carlos.
Sally, you know who he's talking about, right?
No, I really don't.
John Carlos was one of the Olympiads that raised the Black Power fist.
Okay.
Yes.
That's your
Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yo.
Next week on the set, John Carlos.
Listen, Coach.
John Carlos. He was on that same team.
Sally.
I know who it is now.
I know at least 5 guys off of that team. Then
Ladies and gentlemen,
Larry James I ran against. He was in that Olympics. Vince Matthews from Andrew Jackson. Larry James was from White Plains. I ran against all those guys. I ran against all of them.
Ladies and gentlemen,
my friends.
Myself and
John Carlos texts me all the time.
Myself and my partner have been behind the scenes writing a movie. But I officially am throwing my hat in the ring and saying we're going to put that on hiatus because we need to write a movie about Coach. Because he is dropping, Sally, there's some of the names that I'm sure are more familiar to you than me. But there are names that are familiar.
Right, sure.
And now he said John Carlos.
Yes, sir.
I mean, man.
Yes,
Coach,
sir.
there needs to be a movie about your life.
Believe
Because
it or
there's so
not,
many people.
I've been asked a few times about it. I'm sure there's one guy, I don't know if you see his name up there, Greg Jones. He's been trying to get me to write a book for years, but
Man,
Why not?
I'm just like I told you, I've been blessed. You know, I've really been blessed.
wow.
You know, so when I transferred to Texas Southern, I had to sit out and I had to walk on. But when I got to Texas Southern, the head of the department, Dr. Kershaw, the head of the physical education department, health, physical education, and dance and recreation. When I first got into his class, he actually told me that he hated people from New York. In class. He said, I hate people from New York. So I said, well, I said, Doc, you know, why is that? He said, because they think that we're country bumpkins. They come here and they think that they're smarter than we are. So I told him, instead of getting mad at him, I told him, I said, well, Doc, he was the head of the department. I wasn't a fool. I said, Doc, I'm going to be the first person from New York that you love.
Wow.
And he wound up, and that's exactly what wound up happening. He wound up giving me a job holding the down markers at the football games in the Houston Astrodome, where I saw guys like Walter Payton. Listen, you got to remember, when I was in college, all the great black athletes were in black institutions. They
Yes, sir.
To get in there. That's why I say it's a blessing and a curse, because back in my days, you could see the greatest athletes. You know, Jim Rice went to Mississippi Valley. I played in the SWAC. Texas Southern is the SWAC. That's where your boy Deion Sanders is coaching at Jackson State now. I played against Jackson State. I had my greatest games at Jackson State. I played at Grambling with Ralph Goff.
Wow.
Who played with the Braves. Can I tell you a quick story about
the floor is yours, coach.
Going to play at Grambling. I was going to play at Grambling. We're on this big pretty bus. Texas Southern University, Houston, Texas. You know, we're all suited and booted, you know, on the traveling team. So we stopped to get gas in Ruston, Louisiana. I'll never forget it as long as I live. The bus pulls in for gas. Some of the guys get out to go to the diner that's connected to the gas station to get something to eat. So one of my teammates in Chicago, he walks up the steps and he goes and pulls on the screen door and the latch is on the door. Now he's confused because he can look inside the screen door and see that there's people in there eating. So he yells through the screen door, "Excuse me." The guy said, "Yeah, what do you want?" He said, "I'd like to get something to eat." The guy behind the counter says, "You can get something to eat if you go around to the back." So my teammate, he's from Chicago. He never experienced nothing like this. I never experienced nothing like that. He starts cussing. I ain't going no effing where. My coach jumps, so he hears the commotion. He hears both of them yelling at each other. He jumps off the bus, goes up the steps, grabs my teammate by his collar and asks him, does he know where he is? Tells him to get back on the bus. By the time we all got back on the bus, there was a state trooper with his foot up against his car and his arms folded, hoping that we would have done something to get arrested for. Now, the problem that I had with it, we all had on suits and ties. We were traveling team. We're going to play another university. What happened was some of the guys, we had to use the bathroom. So what happened was they told us, well, the bathroom is around the back. So, I believe this was God, to make me go around the back to see what that was really all about, to go to the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom. So about 3 or 4 of us went to the back, and we got around to the back. There was a chef who was opening up the window and scraping off the scraps from the people who had eaten already out the window, and the junkyard dogs would come over and eat the scraps off the ground. That's what we had to walk through to go to use the bathroom and then go back out.
Wow.
So I get back on the bus, and I'm saying to myself, why do they hate us so much? We're the cream of the crop. We're the best that our people have to offer, and they still hate us. I called my mother, and I told her what happened. And tears I just never experienced that kind of hate before.
Right.
So it was one of the lessons that I had to learn. But the people in Louisiana, they're some of the greatest people you ever want to meet.
That's Creole people.
Coach,
That's why.
Coach, we're gonna because you went through another turmoil time, right? We're gonna skip through some stuff because, like I said, we could be here for 3-4 hours if we discuss everything, right?
Yeah.
So you end up going to FDR, the coach. We know you went to Alexander Hamilton first, and it turned into Paul Robeson. But you go to FDR, and there's a situation that happens in the neighborhood, Yusef Hawkins murder, right?
Yes.
So now you have to deal with that at home, racial situation.
And I had to deal with it in school.
Right.
Because listen,
so walk us through that.
I'm sitting at home with my wife watching the news, and Al Sharpton and Spike Lee and all those guys are marching through 18th Street in Benshonhurst, in the heart of Benshonhurst. And I see some of my students in my class carrying watermelons down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pointing them out to my wife, and I'm saying, that's one of my students. Oh, look, that's another one of my students. That's one of my students. And of course, it hurts. It always hurts. Hatred always hurts. But I had to go into work. And things were so bad at that time until we had to do human resources. So we had to pull our classes together. We had to talk to them about racial relationships. And I got 50 kids in each class sitting down in front of me while I'm talking to them. And I'm talking about how being treated. And one of my Italian students, who I love dearly, looks up to me and says, "But Mr. Slater, you're not black." The whole class started laughing because they say, "Is this guy blind?" But I understood what he meant. He meant that we don't see you as black. It was, for me, it was a compliment. Now, don't get me wrong. When I went to Benshonhurst, I had heard all about Benshonhurst. But I always tell people, I was treated like, I don't want to say a god because that would be blasphemy, but I was treated like a star in Benshonhurst. I could go anywhere in Benshonhurst and I'd get free food. I'd go to the fish market and get free fish. They loved me in Benshonhurst. I used to take my wife to Benshonhurst to go to dinner at the Italian restaurants. And the chefs and the owners knew me, and they always treated me with respect. Some of my favorite students, I love FDR. I loved it at FDR. I was there for 25 years. And it was the greatest experience that I've ever had. They treated me like a star. They treated me like family. Sometimes I felt safe in Benshonhurst than I did in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And don't get me wrong, they treat me real well in Bedford-Stuyvesant too. But just for the comparison, the two.
Bed-Stuy is all gentrified now, Coach. Stop.
Yeah. Well, but I lived here when it wasn't.
I know. I'm kidding.
I lived here when it was when it was kind of rough.
Hard times.
But the two guys that were on trial for killing Yusef Hawkins came to my game because they wanted to see some guys that were playing at Madison. but they knew me. And both of them spoke to me, and they were on trial. And I could have, I could have looked the other. I could have hated them.
Right.
But I said hi, and I smiled, and I gave them the respect of a human being. But I actually had to talk to those guys that had actually killed them. They were on trial.
And that comes from that's from your spiritual background, Coach, right? That you're looking at it spiritually.
Yeah, I have to. I have to forgive people. That's a part of what I believe. It's very difficult. But the great ones do that. If you harbor hatred, it's like you take poison and expecting the person that you hate to die. It's going to kill you. It's going to eat at you. You're going to give too much of your own self to those feelings instead of getting past it to move on so that you can accomplish other things. But in a way I felt sorry for them because they were ostracized. They were ostracized for sure.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, kicking people when they're down. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I'm your host, Mr. A.
Sally Sassong in the building.
And this is the set 6145. Tonight, we're joined by the legendary Mr. Coach Wayne Slater Sr. And I think what Coach is speaking to right now, outside of the subject matter of why he operates and thinks and approaches life the way that he does, reminds me of a good brother of ours, Mr. Dennis Bruno, said he has what's called conviction. And it's that conviction on him that leads him to see life and treat people the way that he does. Because if you don't have that conviction in your heart, you're never going to move the way that Coach is moving. To hear somebody tell him, Coach, you're not black, it could be looked at two different ways. And I think that people should always understand you're going to meet people that are going to try to tell you that they don't see color. And at the same time, they're basically saying that they don't see you. Because if you see me, you see my color, you accept who I am, this shell that I'm, in this world. But Coach, listening to everything that you're telling us, man, I'm in awe of your person because you're like a history book. All these great people that you're speaking about that have impacted even more lives, right? And now you're in FDR and you're seeing all these changes. Did you ever at any point during your time in Brooklyn start to lose or wane for the love of the game or what you were doing? Did you ever feel weighted down by it?
No, because I always understood that I had a calling. When I was in the minor leagues with the Chicago Cubs, I remember taking a trip. We took a trip. We were going to play against, I believe it was Oakland A's. And I asked the guys because I always thought like this. I asked everybody on the bus. I said, listen, how many of you guys are going back to your community? Every person on that bus told me they was never going back to their community.
Really?
Every player on that bus told me they were going somewhere that they thought was better than where they came from. I was surprised.
Wow.
I was the only one that said that I was going back to my community. And this is where I am.
Wow.
This is where I am. I'm with my people. For better or worse. For better
Halsey
or worse.
Street. Halsey Street it's changed a lot over the last 15 years.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely a different place.
Yeah. The whole world has changed a lot. Listen, the kids don't know each other. When Wayne was little and Jared was little, I had enough equipment for the whole block. And they all came out and they played. They played as a block. We knew their parents knew us. All of the kids knew each other. Now the kids on the block, they don't even know each other. The only
Nope.
time they see each other and they play with each other is when we have a block party. But to do it on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis, it doesn't happen. It's sad. And it's going to affect sports in general because kids are so computerized until their social skills are not great.
Very much so. Very much so.
Ever since I was a little kid, I was always able to bring people together. That's always been a part of my character. Everywhere I've ever been, I've always been able to adjust and to make people want to be around me. So, you know, I use that. I see it as a gift from God. You know, it's not me. It's not me, it's him.
Something you've been blessed with.
Yes, it's a gift.
Speaking of Wayne, and your other son, how was it to? I would imagine as an athlete and somebody who has played competitive sports, to be able to coach your children.
Oh,
you know, it must be a very fulfilling feeling, and to see them grow and develop and develop a love for the game. You know, how was it for you? You know, coaching your kids.
it was a dream come true. But before I get into that, can I please mention my daughter, who will never let me live?
The floor is yours, Coach. This is yours, please.
She's the first, and she's the one that really made them because she nurtured them along with her mother. So that's my daughter, Letitia. But
Shout out to Letitia.
I coached Jade first at FDR. And Jade was, as you know, was drafted by the Boston Red Sox.
Wow.
And they came here to my house to offer the contract and everything. And I said, no, we're going to go to college. So he went to college, and then he got drafted by the Dodgers. So Wayne got drafted twice.
Wow.
And Wayne was all city 3 years. Wayne has been such a highlight in my life. Never caused me any problems. Never gave me one day of worrying or disappointment. Then you look to Jared. Now, Jared goes to Amherst College, where he's the only black ball player on the team. He becomes the captain of that team. He winds up signing with the Boston Red Sox, who his brother got drafted by out of high school. He winds up signing with Boston as an intern. Wow. Stays with them and wins 3 World Series rings.
Yeah. Wow.
He wins 3 World Series rings, leaves there, comes to the Mets, works with the Mets for 2 years. Now he's with the Chicago Cubs, who I played for. So he worked with Boston, who his brother was drafted by, and now he works with the Chicago Cubs, who I played for. Wow. Now he went to Poly Prep. It cost $50,000 a year to go to Poly Prep. Al Sharpton's daughters were there when Jared was there. Jared was the most valuable wrestler and the most valuable baseball player 2 years in a row.
Wow.
He goes there, he wins a scholarship, an academic scholarship. He goes to Poly Prep in the 7th grade on an academic scholarship. No way I could have paid for him.
Yeah, Joking Noah and those guys were there.
He goes to Amherst from there. And then he goes from Amherst to the Boston Red Sox. He's in Chicago right now. Every day he's at Wrigley Field.
Shout out to Jared, man. He got me to see Big Poppy's last game. I was there with Junior. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he's great. He's my children. My children have been.
Take your time, Coach.
The blessing of my life. They've never caused me any pain. They've never caused me any embarrassment. All three of them have college degrees, and they don't ask me for money. They never have. And I'm just, for
You're
God
blessed.
to allow me to coach both of my sons in high school is beyond my wildest dreams. And the idea that they both were great players just made it even better. I never had to worry, you know.
You gave him a great foundation, Coach.
Although as a father, you worry more about their being able to hit the ball than you worry when you play.
Coach, I was going to ask you, were you harder on them or were you easier on them, guys?
Well, they might say I was harder, but I believe that I was easier on them because I never had, you know, I never had to reprimand them. I never had to. When Wayne was 8 and I was coaching the United States team in Japan, and Wayne was the bat boy. We over in Japan at the Sister City program with Tokyo, Japan, and Beijing, China, and of course New York from the United States. And we won 7 out of 9 games. We were the first team to do that. And I had 2 Major League Baseball draftees off of that team, Louis Lopez and Chad Frontera. Then I had Chris Stoddard, who was all city in baseball and football at that time. But when we got home from Japan, listen, we were doing well there, but listen, I knew Wayne. I tried to put Wayne in the game. He was 8. These guys were 12. I tried to put Wayne in the game. In the game. Listen, and the representative from the United Nations came over to me and said, "Coach, you can't do that, man. Don't put Wayne." So I had to put him. So I had to pull him back, man. And he would listen. He was hurt because I told him I was going to let him play, but I wound up I couldn't let him do it. But when we got home, as an 8-year-old, he says, "Dad," I said, "Yes, son." He said, "Would you train me and teach me how to be a pro?" 8 years old. I was playing professional softball at that time. I stopped playing and I started coaching them full time.
Wow. Coach, man.
Yo, Mr. A, can I jump in? Just want to say something.
Go ahead.
Louis Lopez is a friend to the room and a friend to the show. So we've had him on before. And I just want to let you know, you open up old wounds. When I was one of the final cuts for that Japan team, but we're good. Let's keep moving forward.
I wasn't coaching, was it? I wasn't coaching.
Man, I don't know.
Listen,
I was 11.
They say he didn't have the right birth certificate. They could have let him start.
I am 12.
Oh my God. Listen, man. Coach, I'm respectfully, I'm in awe of you because of everything that you're bringing to the table, man. And it seems like every time we start going down a specific road, we make a turn, open up another door that just, I'm stuck again. And you start telling me about these experiences. I can't imagine what the audience is thinking. Everybody's really going crazy in the room. I don't know if you're really seeing the comments.
No, I can't see him.
Yeah, I'm just flashing them like on the screen like this. Yeah. But everybody is just, there was a gentleman, I think Mr. Fred Smith said, you changed his life.
Freddie Smith?
Freddie Smith, big FDR.
You know who Freddie Smith is, right?
Heck yeah.
He knows, I don't.
Freddie, well, let me give you a little background.
Go ahead, there you go.
Freddie Smith was the first superstar that I have. Well, there was one before him, Frank Biscotti. I had him before Freddie, but Frank was known within that area.
Okay.
Freddie Smith was known throughout New York City. Freddie Smith was the most popular player I ever really had. He played with Manny Ramirez. Freddie Smith is the one that told me. Freddie Smith is the one to tell me to watch Manny Ramirez when he was 14. I went to go see Freddie play, and Freddie said, "Watch this guy, coach. This guy's going to be great." Now, Freddie Smith was on that team. Manny Ramirez, Frank Rodriguez, Robert Vaz. They just had a monster. But Freddie Smith was all city. Freddie Smith got drafted. Him and Frank Rodriguez were in my car. I was taking them both. We were all going out to Yankee Stadium for the senior all-star game at Yankee Stadium. And Freddie Smith got drafted with the Cleveland Indians. Every time I used to take him to the airport for him to go to spring training, Manny would be there with his family.
Wow.
But him and Manny are like brothers.
Wow.
But Freddie Smith, oh man. Freddie Smith, everywhere Freddie Smith went, I didn't have to worry about a thing. He was a beast.
I don't know. I think Freddie's gonna have to come on Just the Tip sports segment, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Freddie Smith had a presence about him as a high schooler. He had a presence about him. And you spoke of the senior high school game, coach. So I just want to give you my memory of my senior high school moment. I was at the tryouts, and I think I was about to get cut from that also. And my last at bat, I hit a bomb out of Lafayette right field. Yeah. And all I heard was, I told you this kid could hit, and it was you. And I made the team. So I love you forever for that, coach. And thank you.
Sally. I love you. Hey, listen, that was a shot. Sally had a stick. Mr. A. Sally was a great player. Sally was a great player.
Appreciate you, coach. Man.
I grew up.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah, for real. I grew up watching Cell play in high school. Yeah. And as an athlete, right? Sully's always had the leadership gene in him, but he was quiet. When we were growing up, he was always quiet. But when we got to the field, it was a whole new animal. Yeah. So I understood his abilities very early on because we played basketball and football together. Yeah. You know? So he's always been a talent. And he's been around a lot of big players. Like they've been on the show. You know, guys you mentioned, Louis Lopez has been on the show. Frank Rodriguez has been on the show. Right. You know,
Nelson Figueroa, John
Figueroa was on.
Right. Nelson, right. Nelson,
man.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah. That conference excel. That conference was the best conference in high school baseball.
Yeah.
When we were there. Can I mention a couple of guys though that you mentioned before?
Floor is yours, coach.
Unique Wrencher.
My guy.
That's my man. Great play. Yeah. Unique Wrencher. I heard you also mention Norman Thomas. Well, the coach of Norman Thomas played for me at Alexander Hamilton when they won the city championship. That was Nervy Jean Pierre. That's one of mine. I taught him. I was his coach in high school. When he won the city championship, he had me out on the field with him. Chester Bracey from Alexander Hamilton, Glenn Williams, Carlos Castillo, Chester Bracey, just some great players that I just wanted to mention them because without them I wouldn't be where I am today. So
Coach
Frank Vespucci, Michael Barbacus, who got drafted out of FDR, Willie King,
my guy. Willie King, my guy.
Yeah, these guys are coaching now.
Yeah.
I hope that I had some influence on them. But Willie King, a lot of people don't realize that Willie King was All-American.
Wow.
You know, so Willie King, Michael Barbacus.
You had one of my boys at FDR, is my guy forever, Bobby McGovern. That was my guy.
Listen to Sally. See, this is why I love talking to you. Bobby McGovern is one of the greatest high school players I have ever seen. To this day, I do not know how Bobby didn't get drafted. They were at every game scouting. They were at every game. The Orioles, the Dodgers, they were at every game.
I'm going to tell you a funny Bobby McGovern story, Coach.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Bobby McGovern had an issue with alcohol. not to
Right.
put his business out there, right? You had a business
No, that's
problem,
true.
alcohol.
I knew that.
That's why he didn't get drafted. However, what Bobby does for a career now, he works on the Metro North as a bartender. He can't drink.
Well, listen.
What?
Yes.
Well, listen. I knew about
My guy.
Bobby. I knew about Bobby drinking because Bobby was the one that told me what you do when you have a hangover the next day. I asked him one time, I said, Bobby, what do you do when you have a hangover the next day? He said, you have another drink. I fell out, man. I almost died.
Yeah,
You telling the coach this? But listen, he was a great athlete. When he got on that field, the drinking and all that. Hey, I saw Bobby McGovern take a football one day from one end of the playground and throw it over the fence on the other end. He was one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen.
He came to New Mexico with me and he got homesick. He's like, I'm leaving. I'm like, what?
Oh.
He's like, I'm out. Yeah, man.
Where'd you go? You went to New Mexico?
Yeah, I went to New Mexico. Me, Richie Westover, Alexi Zapata, a few of us. New Mexico Junior College, Hobbs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, went to JC.
I ran in New Mexico at Tingling Auditorium in Albuquerque. I ran there when I was at Texas Western. You know, and we also, you know, I ran against at the University of New Mexico
and Albuquerque
and New Mexico State in Las Cruces.
Las Cruces. I went there too. Yeah. Coach, I partied all over there. I partied everywhere down there. UTEP, Las Cruces, Texas Tech. Texas Tech's one of the best places to party back then.
Yeah.
Lubbock. Oof.
Coach, let me ask you, you know, I know we're probably leaving a lot of things on the table, but I wanna get to this point.
Okay.
You've had an immense life. You have 3 wonderful children. I can only imagine the woman that your wife is. She must be an incredible human being.
She is.
You've had this.
Before I forget,
please.
We'll be married 54 years, December 16th.
They don't make it like that no more.
They sure don't.
I got him right behind you. Don't worry. He's not too far behind.
I got 20. There's going to be 26 years.
Oh, well, you in there?
I'm working.
Definitely in there.
Hopefully, I don't croak before that. But what I wanted to say was, when does the retirement happen, and what is going on in that moment? Because, you know, we all can't do what we love forever. There has to be a moment where you're like, all right, I have to close this chapter. So how did you reach that point in your life, and what was it like for you in that moment?
The thing about it was, I worked 38 years and 10 months. And about the 35th year, I would have retirees from FDR come by and say, Slater, when are you going to retire, man? You know, there's another life out there. But I love my kids. Right. I could do without the administration and the adults. But the idea that I could go in the gym, and when I closed that door, it was me and the kids, that was heaven to me.
Right.
Because I had something to give them, and they meant something to me. So what I did was, I worked like 2 extra years to make sure it was out of my system.
Okay.
And that's what I did. I worked 2 extra years. When I got to the last 6 months, when I should have been just cruising, it was like all I wanted to do was get home. All I wanted to get home and be around my family. I thought it would be easy, you know, but up until that point, you know, they say that if you have a job that you love, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
That's so true. And I've always been able to bring kids together. I've always been able to communicate with them. I've always been able to make them see the error of their ways. And for those who were doing the right thing, how to propel them to bigger and higher heights. So when I left it all on the table like I did on the field.
Wow. Were you content? Were you content when you walked away? Do you feel like you did like leave it all out on the field and fulfilled
Yes.
everything?
Yes, I feel like it was time for me to go. It was time for me to let young blood come in and to hype things up, because I was slowing down a little bit. So I felt like it was time. And now, so what I do now is, I spend a lot of time in the church. So I'm still trying to mentor kids. I'm in a mentor program where I go and visit us called Men Building Bridges. And we go and we meet with 30 young Black boys, 10 and 11 years old. And we meet with them every Wednesday. I was supposed to be there today. I told them that, as a matter of fact, one of the founders told me today that the kids missed me because I wasn't there. But I asked him, I said, listen, did you tell him what I had to do today?
It's the set 6145, baby.
And he had the nerve to tell me, no, I didn't tell him nothing. I told him you'll be back someday, But that's you could. There's always ways to help.
Yes.
You can help in your own community. You can help on your own block. I still run the races for the block party for all the kids here. Kids that I know, kids that I don't know. I still do it. So, I've worked hard. I used to work 4 jobs. In a year, and all. So I worked really hard.
Wow.
Can I tell you one? Can I give you one other story?
It's your floor, Coach. Go ahead. Yeah.
When I was in college, I came home during Christmas, and I went to Mays. Now it's Macy's. Mays. I went to Mays. It was Mays downtown.
I remember that.
And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm waiting to be called. So I happened to meet a young white brother who was my age, and we talked. So we found out that we both were going to take the same train. We weren't going to get off at the same stop, but we were going to take the same train. So we had made arrangements that, listen, we'll both take, since we're taking the same train, let's wait for each other, and we'll ride together. So he says, okay. So they called me first. So I go in and I interview for the job. So the guy that's interviewing me, he tells me, oh man, you should have been here yesterday. If you would have been here yesterday, you would have had your choice of the job that you could have chosen. He said, but I tell you what, leave your resume. If anything opens up, we'll call you. I said, yeah, okay, well, thank you. And I go outside and I go sit in the waiting room. So he goes in, and I'm sitting there waiting for him to come out. So he goes in and gets interviewed. He comes out, and I said, okay, man, you ready? Let's go catch this train. He said, catch this train? He said, for what? He said, they offered me the job and asked me what department I wanted to work in.
Wow.
So there was another slight that I had to face. I had to come home to a family. I'm home from Christmas. Most people ain't working during Christmas when they're in college. But that's the kind of person I was. I always worked. I never took off a summer. I never took off holidays. So, but that's that's one of the, I was 18 years old in college, just trying to make my way. And he went to work that same day, and I went to the subway station.
The humility that Coach has, and not only that, that takes a lot of patience. Because most guys would have rolled up their newspaper and probably beat that guy. Oh, you got the job, motherfucker? You got the job.
Give me your damn tokens for the train. I'm taking this.
No, Mr. A, I was happy for him.
Of course you were.
I had made a friend. I had made a friend. You know, he was a friend to me. We were getting ready to ride the train together. It wasn't his fault what happened to me.
Right. Right. And that's why I'm speaking to it, because it speaks to your character. And this is, and from what I understand, because I'm listening to your stories, this is who you've been forever. Nothing has changed. So somebody like yourself that has so much empathy and compassion for other humans around them, certain people will hear that and it won't make sense to them. You understand?
Yeah.
Because their minds and their hearts don't work on that plane. You understand?
Coach,
well, I thank God. You know, I had a teacher one time at Texas Southern, and I told him, I said, I'm glad that I'm the oppressed, because I wouldn't want to be the oppressor. The oppressed, there's a better life for them. The oppressor, at some point, is going to have to pay for oppressing those who are less fortunate than them. So I would rather be on the oppressed side of the coin.
Coach, I just wanted to tell you that, I mean, if more people lived actually, you know, the way you lived, right? Forgiving, just moving on, this world would be a way better place. So I just want to, you know, since COVID and, you know, some personal stuff I had went through, I live a lot that way now. You know, I don't sweat the small stuff, like just keep it moving. And, you know, I don't wish no one bad, and, you know, just keep moving, man. Whatever you want to do, just, you don't want to be around me, cool. You want to be around me, cool. That's cool too. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you for coming on, Coach. We could be here for hours. Like I said, we thank you for giving up your time tonight. I'm sure everybody in the room is thankful. Guys, if you're new to the room and new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, the Set 6145 on YouTube, and my page also, just a tip with our song on YouTube. So, Coach, I love you, man. Appreciate you coming.
I love you too, Mr. A. Selly, all the best.
Hold on.
I had to hit the mic.
Number 4. Hold on a second, because we got to play you out. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play out the coach, and then we're going to close out the show, but we want to do it with love and respect. So we're going to play this for him as he goes out. Coach Slater, it was an honor, and I think you're a tremendous human being. This is your home. If there's ever a time you want to promote something, or you have an event, whatever, something going on at the church for the youth, whatever it is, reach out, and we will gladly have you on to promote your event or whatever it is that you're working on. We really, really, I don't think we can express how much we appreciate you giving us your time, for real.
Thank you.
We're gonna tuck you in the green. Yeah, we're gonna tuck you in the green room, and we're gonna close out the show, and then we'll talk behind the scenes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, let's play this for the coach, Wayne Slater Sr.
The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here.
Man.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's I was supposed to have him on just the tip with our song, and I was like, "There's no way." I said, "We got to take him to the set, because this is going to be, you know, something that everyone
special."
Yeah,
and there's, I'm sure there's stories that we still,
for sure,
but a tremendous personality, a tremendous person, and I can imagine, like, just the names he was dropping, like all these people. How many people he's affected?
He you know, like I said, I'm talking high school days, and as a person, as a kid, you know, teen, growing into myself, where you're like, man, this guy makes me feel like I'm something, you know, like he kind of always had that positive vibe. So it's not something that, you know, he's always had it. So we appreciate Coach coming on, for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're the first time watching the show, please go over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. What we do here is bring great stories, real people telling real stories, and we bring information and we share it, and we're trying to build a community. There's not going to be any drama and who did this and love and hip hop nonsense. This is all positive.
Not for you.
Yeah.
Not for you.
If you're looking for that, this ain't the place.
We are teaching financial literacy and stuff we ain't grow up learning.
So please like, follow, subscribe. Also, like, follow, subscribe. Just the tip with Sasson. It's the sports segment. He gets in and out. It's a 20 to 30-minute slot, but it's great because he has a lot of great guests. So show the love and support. But tonight it was all about Coach Wayne Slater Sr. And man, I enjoyed myself. I didn't even want to talk. I just wanted to let him talk.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely appreciate everybody showing out tonight. Damn, I don't think there's anything else to say. You ready to go, Sal?
See y'all next week on Chop It Up segment.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.